All right, everyone, welcome. This is Rotary Club Worldwide Impact, and we're excited to share our mission and the work we do as part of Rotary International with you today. My name is Sam Kendall, and I'm your host for today's program. Just a reminder, Rotary International is a global network of 1.4 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers around the world, with more than 46,000 clubs in more than 200 geographic regions. We're all united in the common goal of making a positive impact in our communities, be they local, national, or globally. Here at Rotary Club Worldwide Impact, we approach every conversation as an opportunity to learn and grow together. And our goal is to connect with and hear from fascinating and inspiring speakers, often with a message focused on the power of ideas to change lives and ultimately the world. And hopefully bring you a little inspiration that allows you to think about what you yourself can do to make a difference as well. Today, we're honored to have with us Nick Marino Jr., the director of the Center for Business Impact at Communities Foundation of Texas. Nick Marino has an incredible story to share about empowering local communities around hunger and how to empower businesses to also help their local communities. And we can't wait to hear it. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started. Nick, I'm going to hand the mic over to you for you to give a brief introduction of yourself.
Oh, wow. Just hopping in on this. I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for having me. I've actually done a lot of work with many local Rotary clubs here in the North Texas area. So I definitely appreciate the work that all of you do inside of the communities to not only just bring people together, but to ensure that continued impact is rolling on. And it's an honor and privilege to have this conversation with you all today. But originally, I'm from Garland, Texas. If you're familiar with Dallas, it's right outside of Garland. I'm sorry, if you're familiar with the Dallas area, Garland is right outside of Dallas. But my entire family's from New York. So if you catch me talking fast, moving my hands a lot when I'm talking, that's why. But I also say y'all for those of you. That means you all, if you are not familiar with us, how us Texans talk over here. Right. So it's funny because people in New York think I talk like a Texan. People in Texas think I talk like a New Yorker. And so I'll let you all decide and we'll throw a poll out there after this and see who wins and on that. But grew up humble beginnings. I always say I was raised with a wooden spoon, not a silver spoon, but I was fed very well from my parents. Only child, so grew up when I think all eyes were on me when it comes to my parents itself. I have a little one due coming up soon, so I get to embark on that journey as a parent. Married with to my wife Amber, and have a pup named Nala. So we're busy with her, but going to be busy, even busier in the next coming weeks. To fast forward, I played baseball for about 17 years of my life, and that's where a lot of my passion for sports comes from. So if you meet me, you can strike up a conversation about any sport at any time. But what I love about sports is that it can bring you to the most crazy places that you never think that you would end up, or meet some incredible people that you never think about meeting along the way, and really built that team and camaraderie spirit with that. But um, with all this being said, played baseball for 17 years, played baseball into college. And baseball, instead of pitching what I like to say, Game 7 of the World Series at Yankee Stadium, it brought me to a baseball field in the Dominican Republic, where I found myself on a mission trip, teaching kids how to play baseball in the Dominican. And I always say that it's kind of crazy that I was on a mission trip teaching kids how to play baseball in the Dominican. I was like, I went to the Dominican. I probably should have been learning how to play baseball from these kids in the first place. But I was out there in a city called Barahona, which is about 4 hours away from Santo Domingo. It was one of the most underserved areas in the Dominican that we were in. And that's really where my life changed in that space. And I always say that baseball brought me there instead of Yankee Stadium. And I got to meet some incredible people there and heard some stories that I wasn't accustomed to, that you're not used to in the States, and the areas that I grew up in and stuff. And it was really my first time personally that I heard like real stories about hunger. And that's where that passion came from. And then also, it really set me on a trajectory of what I wanted to do and spend the rest of my days doing while I'm here on Earth. And that's making an impact in communities. And at that time, I didn't know where that would be, and that is really my backstory of how I got to where I'm at from a giving perspective.
Great. Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick. I know you're now the director of the Center for Business Impact at Community Foundations of Texas, but I'd love to start a little bit farther back, not as far back as your trip to the Dominican, but we know that you started and ran a charity called Tango Charities. Can you share the story behind Tango Charities and kind of what inspired you to start this organization?
Absolutely. So actually, so that trip to the Dominican is where all that inspired. When I came back from that, um, I started like looking into different areas, cause areas, and understanding like what is going on, not just globally, but also in my own communities. And that led me to one, giving up baseball and saying, hey, I want to focus my education on the business side of things. I want to go into marketing. That's where I want, like, that's what I want to do on an everyday basis. Is that for a
Mm.
nonprofit, for profit that does good? What does that look like? So my dream job when I graduated college was for a company called Tom's Shoes, which many people are familiar with. And I would love to, like, my dream was to be the chief marketing officer of Tom's. And they have the whole one for one model. And they've been able to do some incredible work over the years. So I was like started when I finished up school my last 2 years. I actually started the Tom's campus program at the University of North Texas and grew it to be the biggest one in the country. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go work for Tom's. About 14 months after graduation, I was working at a marketing agency, and I was about to jump 2 feet in, move out to California, and say, hey, whatever job y'all have, I'll do it. Right? If it's filing, if it's cleaning, whatever you need, I'm hopping in. But before that could happen, I actually met a man named Andre Angel, who was starting a company called Tango Tab. So it's a mobile app. At that time, it was actually just a website with like deals for restaurants, but very quickly turned into a mobile app because of the time that we were in about 2011, 2012, when everyone was creating apps. So, and the app game really started getting popular. So we had an app that people would go out to eat. They check in at local restaurants. Restaurants paid us to be on the app. It was free for consumers. And every time someone did that, we fed a person in need locally. So we did that as the one for one model. So I said, let me leave my corporate job. Let me go take a smaller salary, no like regular benefits that the corporate world will give you and everything. My parents thought I was crazy for like the 10th time in my life. But I made that move when I was 23, and we ran Tango Tab for about 9 years. And with the whole one for one model, donated about 3.5 million meals, launched that into Singapore. We were on the verge of launching into the UK with the app in 2020, and then all of a sudden something happened in 2020, COVID. And what did people stop doing? Dining out, except for in Dallas. People love their Sunday brunches, and they're like, we don't care about that here. No, just kidding. But Dallas was still, people were still dining out. But nonetheless, the app took a huge hit. Restaurants weren't paying things like their ancillary costs for other services that they may have had. And we were not ahead of the curve on the delivery. If we were door dashing and we were doing Uber Eats, might be a different story. Tango Tab may still be around, but took a massive hit when that came around. But throughout that time that we were doing Tango Tab, we created some incredible initiatives like our Feed the City events, which now have 31 events all around the US, our Cultivate Garden programs, and so many other things. And so in early 2020, we filed for a 501(c)(3) for our charities arm, and that's where Tango Charities was born. So I was like, all right, I'll be the executive director of this organization, have a board of directors and all that fun stuff. And we'll move all of our actual like volunteering and all these other things that we created underneath the charity arm. And Tango Tab is just the app. So when we had to shut the app down itself, we had to make a decision on, do we keep the charity arm? Do we shut that down too? And I said, you know what? We created something incredible, because like our Feed the City events, we started in January of 2015. Coming up in the next couple of months, we're celebrating 10 years of doing these events. I said,
Wow.
I'm going to continue to run this organization as the volunteer executive director. And I've done that since. So from a Tango Charities perspective, I still get to do that. That's my Saturday morning hobbies. I always take people hunt, fish, golf. They do their things on the weekends and stuff. And That's what I get to do on Saturday mornings. We create volunteering experiences to bring the community together. And we have some donors that keep us running. I mean, we still have small operating costs at the end of the day. We don't have salaries and we don't have a building, so that keeps our costs down quite a bit,
Mhm.
which is nice. But I mean, we have to carry insurances, we have to have wonderful things like our email marketing services that communicate to people and all that. But anything that goes above and beyond those costs all goes right back into buying food, doing things
Mhm.
like that, and making sure that food is going back out into the community through our partner organizations. So I
Yeah.
still get to do that while maintaining also the role that you mentioned, being the director for the Center for Business Impact.
That's awesome. With both the Tango Tab and Tango Charities, is there a particular story or of a particular community or individual which was transformed through the efforts that you can think of?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, actually, I've taken a little bit of a different look upon giving and impact, and we always go directly to the people that are being served. And I was like,
Hmm.
what about the people that are actually serving out? And we throw out some of these crazy stats, like we're approaching our 1700th Feed the City event, which is a pretty crazy feat to think about. That we've had there's been 1700 different Feed the City events over the last 10 years. So not only that, but we've done them in 5 different countries. We've done them in 14 different states throughout the US. We've done them in about 67 cities, and we've had over 100,000 people come through the door. And to date, we've actually just eclipsed helping provide over 7 million meals. But that 100,000 number was one that was like, I was thinking in my head, I was like, who are these people that are coming out? And like, what are their stories as well? And what I love about Feed the City is that I call us the top of the funnel of giving, right? Not everyone's passionate about hunger. Everyone has different passions. We have multiple people on this call, multiple people that are listening, and I can promise you that we probably all have very different thoughts about giving. Like if you said, hey, what are your top 3 places to give to, or causes or organizations? They're probably all different. You might have one or two that are the same. But nonetheless, people are passionate. They want to do good. So I said, what if we give them an easy opportunity to make that impact and open it up to all ages? So what I love is like when people raise their hands, it's like, this is the first time that I'm volunteering this year. It was on my New Year's resolution list, and we're giving them that opportunity. Or, hey, we're bringing our family out here, and this is the first time that we're getting to give back with our kids and show them about making an impact. And then also, a couple months back at a Feed the City event, somebody reached out to us, and they lost a loved one and everything. And one of their favorite things to do was to come to our Feed the City events. And so they make it an annual thing every year as a family to come to these events. And I'm like, wow, these are the stories that we don't even hear about. And not only are we able to provide so many meals to people in need that are needing it, but we're impacting the lives of the people that are serving as well. And
Hmm.
so that has definitely resonated with me over the last couple of years, especially now on the verge of being a dad, about like what giving looks like for my kids and for my family, and what I want to instill with them. Because at the end of the day, that's what legacy looks like, and generational change looks like as well.
Yeah. No, that's I think that's a really great point. I know you've brought up Feed the City events multiple times now. Can you briefly describe what a Feed the City event looks like for
Yeah.
those on the call or those listening or watching that have not had the pleasure?
I might be biased, but it is the best that you can ever have. Now, so high energy, a lot of people. So I mean, there's different areas and markets. Like the event might be 20 to 30 people, which is a great event, right? Like you go volunteer somewhere and having 20 to 30 people, but then some people see like our event in Frisco, Texas, that has 350 to 400 people that are coming out and packing up 6 to 7 thousand meals. And it's we focus on just packing up meals. Like I remember when we first started, like people, like it's sandwiches, it's chips. And when we first started, sandwiches, chips, and cookies, right? You're like, let's just get
Mhm.
food out there, right? And a lot of the sandwiches were like bologna sandwiches, which, like I said, I'm from Garland, Texas. You can look up Garland. I grew up on bologna sandwiches, fried bologna, which is perfectly fine. right? But then we've always continued to enhance and say, hey, let's replace cookies with actual fruit, right? We at one point we replaced chips with raisins. That became very messy on restaurant floors to clean up and things like that. But then we've also said, hey, like on the bread, like look at the bread you're buying. Is it wheat? Is it whole wheat? Right? Like focus on that instead of bologna. Can we bring in like better turkey? Can we bring in better meat? Like when we were doing bologna, we were doing like 10,000 meals. The number of meals that we provide during an event have gone down, but the quality has gone up. Like I'm seeing the cheese that people are bringing in and stuff. Yeah, some people still bring in your craft cheese and everything like that. Like, I mean, I even eat those sandwiches on a regular basis as well, right? So we're always constantly focusing on making the quality of food that's coming into our events better so that when it's going out to individuals, they're getting healthy and nutritious meals. I grew up on sandwiches, chips, and fruit every day, Monday through Friday. That's what my mom made me growing up for 12 years of my life, right? So I think that turned out pretty decent. So there's then we also said, well, what about our garden programs, right? And being able
Mm,
to do gardens and everything and providing and replenishing food because there's a lot of schools that have gardens and it's great that they got built, but what about on a yearly maintenance perspective, right? Depending upon what you're growing, seeds need to be replaced and reinstituted. So that's what we utilize a lot of our funds for. So we're constantly thinking about how are we providing not just food, but healthy and nutritious food and getting better on that. But our
yeah.
Feed the City events, we make them, they're open for all ages. So you'll see 3-year-old next to their 93-year-old grandparent, great grandparent, and stuff, making some sandwiches. It's high energy, like we're blasting music. This past weekend, we had Paul Russell. If y'all know the viral song from last year, there's like, You My Little Boo thing. He was like on TikTok and everything, right? In town and he was like, hey, I want to come out and give it back in the community. And he hopped over to the event, which was absolutely awesome. We've done stuff with like Dan and Shay, a ton of different
Mhm.
athletes, Hall of Famers, local guys that play for the Dallas Cowboys and so on.
That's great. And you were just kind of, you briefly touched on it. So I know you have your Feed the City events. But besides feeding communities, I know that Tango Charity also kind of focuses on education and empowerment, kind of programming. Could you elaborate on what those initiatives are or initiatives in those areas?
Yeah, so before COVID, we had a thing called Feducation. So we would actually help individuals understand like what food deserts are, right? And understanding like where those needs are in their communities, what hunger looks like as a whole of not hunger, like you say hunger, a lot of people think of probably maybe a third world country. Some people, if you say hunger in America, they think of maybe like homelessness which like homelessness accounts usually for like a small percent, maybe like 12 to 15% of who is actually going to bed hungry in a given community.
Mhm.
So, and not saying that those aren't issues. Like there's some incredible organizations that are focusing on world hunger, and there's some incredible organizations focusing on homelessness, right? Um, but it was our calling to say, hey, we're gonna focus on like local needs, right? So like if you're in Dallas, and just like how our app was, like if you dined in Dallas, we fed people in Dallas through partner organizations. So the same thing is with our Feed the City events is that if you're packing meals, it's going to go to people that are in need 5 to 10 miles radius. So that's just showcasing like, hey, that it could have been the barista that handed you your coffee this morning, could have been the person that checked you out at the grocery store, buying the groceries you brought to the Feed the City event. If you have kids, it could be the kid that's sliding down the slide next to your kid or swinging on the swing next to your kid at recess. It could be people in this room. It could be people on this call right now. You could have actually experienced hunger at some point in your life, but it's usually something that people hide behind their pride, right? Like they don't
Mhm.
talk about it until after the fact. They're like, hey, yeah, I remember like being in those lines when I was 10. I remember being in those lines a couple of years ago and stuff. I got laid off from my job and I had to decide, am I keeping the lights on or am I going to actually provide meals to people in need? Or am I going to actually put food on the table?
Yeah. So, as we mentioned kind of at the top of the call, you now not since your work with Tango Charities is unpaid, you also work for Communities Foundation for Texas as the director of your Center for Business Impact. Can you kind of explain how your work that you're doing there at the Center for Business Impact is similar, or how your work translates from your work at Tango Charities?
Yeah, Impact has an incredible ecosystem. It's a lot of nonprofits do not have sustainability built into their organization, meaning that they're relying on donors to make sure that they're funded throughout the year, which there's no problem with that. But we need to ensure that we have provided the right access to these organizations to ensure that they are sustainable because we need nonprofits to be able to do the work itself. And I've always loved like things like from the beginning of my story, like you look at social good businesses like Tom's Shoes, super passionate about that. However, not everyone is going to be a one for one model, right?
Hmm.
But we still need our accounting firms, we need our law firms, we need insurance, we need IT, staffing agencies, all these incredible things. But I am a firm believer that sustainability from an impact perspective is really garnered and led by our businesses in our community. And that I believe that businesses have a responsibility to ensure that the communities that they serve are also vibrant, economically stable, and being able to have that support. And they can do that by partnering up with incredible organizations and nonprofits. And so my journey from my marketing background took me through Tango Tab. I happened to work with our CEO for Tango Tab for not just my time at Tango Tab, but he had started another company in the healthcare space. And that's where I've been at prior to joining the Communities Foundation of Texas. And I only said that I would only leave there if the right place at the right time and the right role came up. And my passion is in impact. And when I saw the role for the director of the Center for Business Impact come up, I was like, wow. And also, I'm very familiar with the Communities Foundation of Texas work. So when I heard not just about the role, about like, hey, we're working with businesses, but how we're working with businesses, right? We're working with them on their strategic giving. We're working on community engagement with their employees, right? And then also on their professional development, ensuring that the next generation of their employees are well equipped to be servant leaders inside of their communities and inside of the office space. With that, I was like, wow, this is the right place at the right time in the right position for me.
Yeah.
So I joined this team about 2 months ago. So I'm still getting my feet wet. I'm still learning and everything, but it's incredible hearing and talking to different companies about their strategic giving, right? A lot of companies
Hmm.
don't have that, right? They're just like, oh, I just donate here and I just donate here. And a lot of it is at the C level and their top execs who are making the decisions. When you're looking at giving in this day and age, it's so important for the employees on like, I want to align you're going to spend 40 to 60% of your life at your job. Plot twist, if you didn't realize that. But you want to ensure that you're aligning yourself on an everyday basis with someone that aligns with the same values. And it might not be the same cause area, but aligning like with giving and making an impact. And a lot of companies don't know where their employees want to give. So we have a great team that is able to help define that. And then all of a sudden, the CEO is like, wow, I didn't know that 40% of my employees like are really passionate about pet rescues. Like, could you imagine just saying, hey, cutting a check, but not or that, or we're volunteering at doing this like with some VTO days, or we're going out here for a happy hour, but we're tying it into like giving and building pet rescue packs and stuff, and we're able to align all of that.
That's great. And so with this new position in your past positions, kind of tying it all together, what do you see as the role locally, especially with business, government, NGOs, and other organizations in kind of making that meaningful impact in a community?
Yeah. Don't silo yourself away from one of those. We have to work hand in hand. Government makes a lot of the decisions on from an education perspective. If
Hmm.
that's where your passion is, that's where your team's passion is, align with what fits for you. Don't try to change like every person like doesn't have to be like, oh well, my idea or like what I'm doing is changing everything. As I mentioned earlier, like even with Tango Charities as an example, right? Like world hunger is a huge issue. Homelessness is a huge issue. We can't solve all of that. We can play our role and we can ensure that we are playing our role, right? Like every good team needs their role players, right? There's
Yeah.
never a championship team that has won a title. And I'll go back to sports analogies that didn't have great role players, right? And because there's going to be people that aren't pulling their weight. So you need to ensure that you are pulling yours and that people don't have to worry about you. So when you look at that ecosystem between NGOs, businesses, government, et cetera, you have to be in the mix. And that's why, like with the Center for Business Impact, we have a thing called Collab Lab, right? So we're actually bringing all businesses that are part of the Center for Business Impact together on a
Mhm.
quarterly basis and having these conversations, right? So there's really not a lot of places that are doing this, but not only those conversations, but when we're building in our service days, our team does a great job at Center for Business Impact service days throughout the year that you're volunteering, not just with your own company, you're volunteering next to other companies that are like-minded. And that's
Mhm.
where real change starts happening because those conversations start happening and they want to say, hey, oh, you're working on this with education. We can jump in on this and bring this to the table. Now we're putting the right people in the right rooms.
Yeah. And and so I guess this is more of a broader question, but with that in mind and using your sport analogy, um, I'm curious how you measure success of the long-term success of your programs in the communities you serve, right? So if we're using the sport analogy, how do you know what the score is at the end of the game? How do you know how the season's going, right? Kind of as you continue to play.
Yeah. So one, satisfactory reports, right? So always checking in, making sure that their employees and their teams are happy with what they are doing, number one. And then number two is ensuring is like the numbers that we look at are one, how many companies are engaged, how many employees of that are engaged as well, right?
Mhm.
Where are their dollars going through? Like, um, have they been able to push out X amount of dollars to this organization over this amount of time, which then correlates to this amount of change or these programs implementing, right? There's great companies here like TI, Texas Instruments, that's focused on putting in like different, they have programming that they're putting into schools for STEM education, right? So that they're able
Mhm.
and align that properly. Now, all of a sudden, like as I don't know the exact number, but like, hey, we have 15 different now programs in different schools, and that was funded because a business actually put those funds in, right? So it's kind of like streamlining it. Is it direct sales like in e-commerce? No. Right. So we look at that from employee engagement. We look at that from the amount of hours they've served and helped organization,
Mhm.
uh, the amount of companies that are coming in and being able to provide that impact.
I know that there's a lot of conversations right now, especially in nonprofit and I guess the government side, around the difference between the output and the impact, especially when working in the social services level like you do. And I'm curious, with Tango Charities looking at you mentioned that you've done these thousands of thousands of events and hundreds of thousands of people coming in. How do you view with the Tego charities, be it the Feed the City events, be it your education events, how what is the impact that you're kind of looking at there? Instead of necessarily just like the output of like we created X amount of meals, but what is kind of the impact that you're hoping to have with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so hunger in America is not a food issue. It might be in
Mm,
some other places, but here, hunger is not. Hunger is a logistics issue. It's getting the food to the individuals that need it, right? So, I mean, it's very sad. Like, you go behind a grocery store at like 6 a.m. and you're just in there, and all of a sudden you see the baking department rolling out a huge cart and just like trashing a ton of goods. I'm like, all that's good. It's technically no longer shelf worthy, but it's like the amount of food that's going out is insane. But with that, it's ensuring that our partners, because we have partners all around the country, right? So we have 31 monthly feed
mm,
events. We have great groups like Mission Arlington, that's in Arlington, Texas. They pick up from 4 events of ours every weekend. Like, they fully rely on the meals that they get from us on Saturday mornings to get them through Saturday, to get them through Sunday with all the individuals. Because why? Because like they need funds to ensure that they get money. They're not getting enough food to ensure that out of the 30 days of a month or 31 days of a month, that knocks out 8 days of the month that they're getting food from us. right? So that helps them be able to pour those funds into other programming. It helps them to be able to maybe other needs that those families need that they're not having to worry about food. And we have other partners like that, right? So our goal when we go into a community is saying, hey, we're not just going to have one event a month. Like, how do we get this to a second event in the area, a third event, and fourth event? So now that these organizations we're partnering with, they're getting meals on a weekend. Every single weekend, they can rely on our organization to provide food for them so they can continue doing their great work. They can utilize their funds in different areas, and so on.
I mean, it's really important work, and I know it's a hard, especially with hunger in America. It's food deserts and logistic, and making sure that, different groups are able to support other groups as well. And while you're delivering these services, either within Tango Charities or now in your new position at the Center for Business Impact, what what challenges have you kind of encountered while trying to deliver services, be it in these Feed the City events or be it in your educational and empowering events? What are the challenges? And then also, how have you kind of overcome them um, within your local community?
Yeah, I mean, educating people is the number one thing, right? People know what they know, and being able to educate those individuals as like being able to utilize platforms like this and letting people understand and know and giving them and equipping them with the tools that they're able to expand that message, I think is the number one obstacle always, right? So we need to deliver a good story. That's why my background's in marketing. So we need to be able to deliver a good story and a good message to make it easy for people to regurgitate out to others. Um, Other than that, I mean, there's always criticism in giving, which is kind of a crazy thing, right? Like people always like have to open their mouth about something, right? Like I always say, like, look in the mirror and what are you doing, right? And if you are doing great things, why are you bashing someone else that's trying to make the world a better place? There's a lot of other people that you can go spend your time doing that with. Uh,
Mm.
right. I don't want to say the words that I would like, but I have to bite my tongue. That's where the New Yorker side comes out sometimes. But no. But don't take criticism as a thing that deters you from what you want to do. If your heart is in the right place and your mind's in the right place and you're doing it for the betterment of society, keep doing it. Don't worry about it. You're gonna have a critic in everything that you do. So um, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Those are, I'd say, the two biggest obstacles. I mean, finances always are an obstacle for any organization or anything, right? Because you have to have money to be able to do these programs and do things. And I think once again, that's where businesses step in, right? If your business is not playing a role in the community, I'd say be this person that steps up inside of your organization and say like, hey, we need to take a look at it. And it could be starting small, right? You don't have to go and be like, hey, we're donating X amount of dollars every single year. It could just be like start small. We started out with all this work volunteering once a month when I started at Tango Tab. I said we're gonna go volunteer once a month. That then turned into us posting on social media because when we started doing that, that's when like social media started getting bigger. And then all of a sudden, users wanted to volunteer with us, the users of the app of Tango Tab and stuff. And then that turned into us saying, why don't we actually create our own volunteer experience and making sure that it's consistent, right? And so we did that. And it was like second Saturday of every month, we're going to be right here. All right. And then that grew to people, our users of the app wanting to say, hey, can y'all do this in Plano? Hey, can you do this in Fort Worth? And that's how we grew those events. The users of our app became our Feed the City leaders. And now we're at 31 monthly events. And I'll go back to what I learned and I'll go back from a baseball perspective. My dad teaching me growing up and stuff. The three things that I bring into life is number one, concentration and focus. So making sure that we're focused and aligned on what we're doing and concentrating on our end goal. Number two, adjustments. Things are going to always change. Things are going to always shift. We've shifted over the years what Feed the City looks like. We have an entire another arm of Feed the City that's going to be rolling out in 2025 because if things change, we can also shift with that. Can't announce that yet. Number two, well, that's adjustment number two. And then number three is consistency. I hear people all the time that want to start stuff. I've been in the startup space prior to running CBI for Center for Business Impact for 13 years. So I've seen a lot of people come up to us, I have this idea, I want to do this and everything like that. Like, be consistent, do it. Don't just do it for 3 months. Don't do it for 6 months. Say, I'm doing this for 10 years, right? And what does that timeline look like? And keep building towards that goal that you have. Seen a lot of people come and go and be consistent, concentrate and focus and being able to adjust when it comes to the market and society.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Nick. I think this has been a great conversation around kind of the impact that you can have both from business and your day-to-day job perspective, but also, as you said, your hobby and or for you, instead of hunting or playing sports, your weekend activities. Um, but I want to kind of open up to any questions from our audience here before we finish up. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to either raise your hand or drop a chat, drop a question in the chat, and I'll take them as they come. We do have one question. How are the representatives of communities involved in the topics or projects that are being developed by the Center for Business Impact in collaboration with all the partners? So how are those who are on the receiving end of the events and the work that um, you are developing with your partners at the Center for Business Impact? How are you kind of working with those communities?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So at the Communities Foundation of Texas, we actually also have a philanthropy department that works literally with nonprofits themselves. So when a company comes in, the first thing that the team does is actually provide a survey out to the company, right? And that survey is to help understand like where their employees, where their staff, like what's important to them from a giving perspective, right? Because it could range, but it's important for the company and the individuals to know what's important to their team. So that's the first thing that we do. But then there's also things that the company's passionate about, right? So maybe they're in the tech space and they want to focus on like STEM education and stuff. So don't just throw that out the window, right? Because that's still core to your culture and vision and mission of your company, right? So, but how do you balance that? Now, we work with our philanthropy team to understand one, organizations that are in good standing. So I always say ensure that if you're donating to an organization or anything, make sure that they are in good standing from an IRS perspective, right? You want to make sure that you're giving your funds to organizations that will steward that money very well, right? So we do that and handle that. So if a company comes in and they say, hey, we're passionate about domestic violence awareness, we only know about ABC's women's shelter or something, and only like the big names. Like, well, what else do you want to do? Do you want to be a little bit more tangible, hands-on with your giving, and like, do you want to have activities that tie to that? So we'll go through all of that with them, and then understand them and place them with the right organization that fits for them. And so then that's how we tie that business to a
Mm,
proper organization itself, right? So with that, with the communities involved, and how are they in collaboration with the partners and stuff? One, ensuring that they have the right tools and resources that they need. We understand what their needs are and being able to align them with the business and what they're able to give.
yeah, that's great. I do have one last question. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but for individuals or organizations who are on the call or listening or watching later on, who want to support your causes, either kind of the work you're doing with Tango Charities or kind of the business impact side, what are effective ways for these people to be able to make a difference?
Yeah, number one, reach out to me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation and everything, even if you're not in the North Texas area, right? So that's where I'm based in Dallas, but more than happy to hop on a Zoom or if you're here, meet in person with that. I would say the ways to be able to do it is number one, start that conversation internally and see what that looks like. If you don't even know where to start that conversation, feel like once again, feel free to reach out and I can help you put those bullet points in place of what you need to bring to the table. Did that with someone this morning for their company, right? So ensuring that conversation is being started. Number two is follow up on that conversation and making sure that you know what the action steps are needed. And number
Mhm.
three, actually taking action on those. Now, if you want to support Tango Charities, go to tangocharities.org and talk about that. Now, if you want to see how your business can get involved with us on the business side, and giving business at cftexas.org is our email address. That'll come to myself and my team. I'm more than happy to share out, and y'all can share out any of my contact information, cell phone, someone feel free to shoot me. message. And also, like, if you have opportunities for us to be able to spread this message, right? Like maybe you are hosting an event, you need speakers or anything, myself or my team are able to come out there and actually make sure that people are educated on this and seeing how they can get involved. You might be in an area that doesn't have a communities foundation or or the Center for Business Impact, because we are very unique with what we do and we're proud of that. And we're hoping that we can take this model and replicate this across other community foundations, so then they're able to work with local businesses and being a leader in that space as a whole. So there's quite a few things. I'd say the number one thing is you want to make an impact, do it. Take that first step forward, start the conversation, take action.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick, so much for your time. And I want to thank everybody for your questions and for joining us for this recording. I know I'm inspired to just do it, to go out there and do it today. If you're inspired and to get involved and make a difference in your community, we invite you to learn more about Nick's organizations, both Tango Charities and the Center for Business Impact. Um, we'll make sure that that information is shared wherever you are receiving this information. We also invite you to learn more about Rotary International and Rotary Club Worldwide Impact. That being said, I do want to thank Nick Marino again for being with us here today. And I want to turn it back over to you, Nick, for any last words you might have or any last thoughts as we end this podcast.
Yeah, last thoughts. Don't hesitate if it's on your heart. Like I said earlier, take the action. That's the number one thing that I can preach. I always, whenever I do a talk, I very much started with the question, who here can name their 8 great grandparents? And I've had one person name 7. I asked this question, I can't even name this. So I've never met a person that can name all 8 of their great grandparents, which is kind of crazy because if you think about it, those people were on this earth less than 100 years ago, and they're your own family. So your name will be gone in a few years once you're gone, unfortunately. But what are the things that you left this place that leaves your legacy going? Whether
Hmm.
that's instilling in people giving, whether it's programs that you've created, maybe it's a business you started, but what is your legacy going to be? And I think that starts with giving and the impact you make in your community.